I was diagnosed in June of 2020 with stage 4, grade 3 pancreatic neuroendocrine cancer. It is a slower growing cancer. Most patients are not diagnosed until they're much further along because the symptoms, it is a more rare type of cancer. And because of that, most doctors don't go directly to think of that as an option. Or a lot of patients get pushed off because of the symptoms. Everyday life was, I thought, completely normal. I thought I was doing well. I was incredibly busy, especially a working business owner, taking care of your kids, taking care of a farm. I really did everything for our household. It was a lot. I kind of, pushed myself to the side. I was never priority. A lot of the symptoms that I was experiencing kind of got pushed off because of the type of symptoms that this cancer produces. There's a lot of hormonal symptoms, and so they're very easy to brush off, especially when you're under so much stress and anxiety. My face completely breaking out, and being a licensed esthetician and makeup artist for as long as I had been, I mean, I've always taken very good care of myself. And so when I couldn't get that under control, then I blamed it on stress and anxiety and that popping up. Then it got to a point where, with a little over a year before I was diagnosed, I started having issues when I would be eating. And my stomach would just kind of be in knots, just having stomach pains. I was getting flushing, but at that point, I did not know what flushing was. So the red splotchiness, I probably knew in definitely April of 2020 that there was something really wrong. And I can remember being at, I think it was Easter, an Easter dinner at my mom's house, and just having to constantly just get up, and I would just had to excuse myself and kept having to go to the bathroom because my stomach was just in so much pain. And talking to her that evening and saying, there's something not right. Like, I know something's not right. I didn't have insurance. So it was just pushing it off. I didn't financially have the means to be able to go. Something extremely serious was never on the radar. I was always, in my eyes, a healthy person. If I got sick, it was because my kids were sick. The symptoms just continued to kind of worsen. There was a point where I was just so swollen, and my legs were so swollen that I was not even able to bend them. My now fiance was with me. He was actually the one who picked me up and put me in the car and took me to the emergency room and said, "You don't have a choice, you're going." So he really saved my life because I probably would not have gone. I probably would have continued to push it off. We did scans, they did blood work. My parents had a doctor friend who referred me to a gastrointestinal specialist who was able to see me much quicker. He sent me for blood work, and I had to come out of pocket for that. It was incredibly expensive. I can remember the nurse telling me, I have never cried for a patient before, and she was bawling her eyes out when she was having to charge me for my blood work because we knew that, like, she looked through everything that they wanted to test me for, and she knew that there wasn't anything that she could take off. And we were both there just sitting and crying, and I'm like, I don't have a choice. For me to come out of pocket was nearly impossible. It was maxing out a credit card to get the blood work done, but it was something that at that point I knew I had to do. Never, never, never was cancer on the radar. Even going to the ER, even going to see the gastrointestinal specialist, even going for blood, like, never did cancer pop into my head one time. The day after my blood work was done, I got a phone call first thing in the morning from the doctor's personal phone, which is never good. And he said, we've already gotten your blood work back. I've already called and talked to an oncologist, and you have an appointment today at 2 o'clock. You need to go today and meet with him. And I think I held it together until I ended the phone call, and I can just remember collapsing in my kitchen, bawling my eyes out, and just being completely crushed. It was completely devastating. And I couldn't even make the phone call to my family because I couldn't talk. I was just so emotional. I was diagnosed in June of 2020 with stage 4, grade 3 pancreatic neuroendocrine cancer. In the very beginning, when I was diagnosed, I was not in a good mental place because it wasn't just the cancer that I was battling. There was so much more on my plate that I was having to try and mentally, you know, work my way through. My support system was really the one who helped me the most in the beginning because I couldn't do that for myself with where I was at that point. Initially, I was told that so my primary was the tail of my pancreas was spread to my liver. And I was told that the masses were too large to do any kind of surgery. That wasn't an option for me. So initially, I was started on chemo. It was such a blessing that I was able to do an oral chemo at home because I think that if I hadn't been able to have my support system around me, I don't think that I would have had such a positive response. We had planned on 12 cycles. My body at cycle 11 said, that's it. We can't do anymore. I was incredibly sick. It was really hard on my body. I was also in a lot of pain because of everything that my body, I was in pain before starting treatment. So all that pain was there, and then it was amplified when I started to do the chemotherapy. I literally would have to have a bucket right by me, like at all times. I was completely just drained of energy and I slept a lot. Fatigue was huge. I couldn't eat. I had no appetite. I don't know if that was because I was scared of throwing it back up, if it was because I couldn't taste food. And it was just hurting, being uncomfortable, fatigue, um, having stomach issues was definitely a big one as well. And then night sweats, having that go on, that was something that was uncomfortable as well. The primary mass that is located at the tail of my pancreas had shrunk enough to where I was able to be a candidate for surgery. So I then went ahead and did have surgery to remove the tail of my pancreas, and they also took my spleen. It was really difficult. I was in the hospital for about a week, and then I came home and I was in bed for a while. I really tried to do as much as I could to work myself back into a routine because for me, routine is incredibly important. It helps me, have something to look forward to. All of the things that I needed to do were things that I needed to put in place to help support myself for healing and recovering. It was about a year after surgery when I was scanned again. because of the growth of the masses on my liver that we needed to start treatment again. So those treatments went to chemo embolizations, bland embolizations, Y90, so radiation. October of 2024, when I had my scans, they decided that I again needed to, unfortunately, start back on chemotherapy. And so at that point, I started on FOLFOX, and that is a chemotherapy where I would go into the treatment room and I would be there for multiple hours, and then I would have to leave with a pump, and that would pump for the next 2 days the rest of the chemotherapy into me. And then I would have to go back the 2 days after I had been there for treatment, and they would remove the pump. Then I'd have a week, and then I'd have to go back. That's really difficult to have a schedule like that because you can't plan anything. First off, when you have cancer in general, you never know how you're going to feel, how much energy you're going to have. But then when you're connected to these pumps and you're just not feeling good, you're not sleeping good. Luckily, my family is incredibly close to me. We're all very close in general, but then also in proximity to me. So I did have help when I needed it. I did try to function as normal as I possibly could when my kids were there. And I was still making their lunches. I was still making, it did not matter if I was crawling up the stairs at the end of the night. I was still trying to do everything that I could to be the mom that they knew, the person that I knew, the mom that I didn't want to go away. I didn't want them to suffer because of what I was going through. I think that probably one of the most difficult and emotional things for me was in the beginning, and having to come to terms with the fact that I'm going to have to ask for help. I was never one to ask for help. I was always one to, like I said, do everything. I'm very independent. I've been that way my entire life. And I can just remember, I think I had just gone and dropped off my boys to their dad or gone to the store. I was out, and I can just remember I had to just go and park my car, and I just broke down in tears and just was like, I can't do this alone. There's no way that I am going to be able to do everything, function at the level that I was functioning at, and do everything and be able to try to help myself, doing stuff for yourself and your body and healing so that you can go back to being the mom that you want to be for the kids and the person that you want to be and be able to go and do what you want to do. I'm currently, now I've gone on to a maintenance mode of FOLFOX. I'm very fortunate. I don't leave with the pump at this point. They tapered back some of what they were doing because I was having a plethora of lovely symptoms or side effects. I'm sorry, from the treatment. And so they wanted to see if we backed off a little bit, if it would help improve the side effects that I was starting to get, which were greatly impacting my life. As far as my long term treatment plan, I've been told that for the rest of my life, I will have to be on some kind of treatment. And that can be incredibly frustrating to know that that's the case. There are just so many unknowns when you're going through cancer. for the rest of your life, you will have to be on treatment until science catches up and comes up with a cure. I was a professional makeup artist. I owned a salon. I would go and do on location bridal and event makeup. And I really loved what I did. I would see the boost in their confidence, and that made me so happy and was so fulfilling for me. I think that that's why I was so passionate about it. And unfortunately, because I never know how I'm going to feel, I can no longer take on clients. We talk about losing our identity. You know, my identity was a wife, a mother, a business owner, and then I wasn't able to do makeup. So everything that I knew of that I was all of a sudden just gone. What is it that we're going to do that's going to make us happy? Within the past 2 to 3 years is when I have really been able to make a mental shift. And that has been all the difference. Doing makeup and boosting other people's confidence, how that really brought me so much joy and happiness and made me feel fulfilled. I have since decided that how can I take this and help others? And so now I'm making videos and trying to get the word out about this type of cancer and prioritizing yourself and creating an environment that you can thrive in and that's healthy for you. When you're going through something like chemo radiation or cancer, whatever what illness you have, creating an environment that's healthy for you to heal in, and then, like I said, and thrive. So now I'm really excited that I found that, because I feel like that's kind of helped to fill this void that I've been feeling since not being able to do the makeup and have the salon and all of that I was so passionate about. We just get so busy and so focused on so many other things that we're not in tune with our bodies. When we are able to do that and have that mental shift to a more positive place, I really feel like our body listens to that. Even if that's just, hey, like, I'm getting up today and I am excited. I've got something to look forward to, instead of waking up and just being like, I hurt, I don't want to get out of bed. I do yoga in the morning and meditation. I journal. I really try to make sure that every day that I'm putting myself together, putting my makeup on still, even if I can't do it for other people, doing it for me. When I feel like I look good, then I feel better. Even if I'm not that day able to accomplish all those things, because there's definitely days that I wake up and it's just not going to happen. Like, we're going to have to pick one or two of those things, because there's no way I'm getting through that entire list. But even just accomplishing one of those things, that's a victory. And we need to capitalize on every victory, no matter how small it is. And that applies to everything in life.
Thank you so much for watching. If you were inspired by this story, we've queued up another one for you here. And please make sure you subscribe to the Patient Story community, where we're humanizing cancer one story at a time and always reminding people you're never alone.